But anyway, back to Orb, the anime we're talking about, and not a history podcast that I keep telling Steve we should just do. Welcome to the second episode of Anime Plus, where we talk about Orb on the movements of Earth. We liked Orb so much during the last season of 2024 that we want to keep talking about it. And it's kind of also a follow-up to the Ranma 1/2 format that we had last season as well.
Anime Plus comes out on Wednesdays, and we shifted the regular podcast to Fridays starting in January. So let's get into it and discuss episode 16 of Orb.
This week's episode, as Steve predicted last week in Anime Plus, we got a time skip. A 25-year time skip. So far, since this series has started, we've gotten roughly 45 years worth of stuff. But anyway, we get 25 years past the deaths of Bedeni and Oxy, and we pick up with a hooded figure who's a heretic being escorted by two helmeted men to their local Inquisition holdout. We've come to find out from the man that's interrogating the hooded gentleman that this is Schmidt, the leader of the Heretic Liberation Front that has taken root. We find out through some exposition from this Inquisitor that they go around burning Inquisition holdouts and liberating all the heretics that they can find or obtaining materials from those holdouts. And he does it quite brutally and thus has painted a very large target on himself from the church. So we then get this exposition from the hooded gentleman who was called Schmidt, basically detailing that he is a naturalist. He wants to return God to being not influenced by the follies of man. He wants there to be no organized religion. He wants there to be no man elements in his religion.
He wants to get rid of orthodoxy.
Right. He wants to get rid of the orthodoxy of any organized religion. And to do that, he needs to basically return man to a state of animalhood. And he calls himself a naturalist. We then very quickly find out that the people that captured him are actually his cronies, and they go about trying to rob the place. The Inquisitor calls the guards. They're outnumbered 10-3, except they have gunpowder.
They have bags of gunpowder.
They have bags of gunpowder and blow a massive hole in this church.
Not to mention, scattering all of the guards all over the place.
Crushing literally everyone.
As they hide behind their tower shields.
Yep. They find a book, and we very quickly find out that they are trying to Schmidt is trying to find references to Oxy and Bedeni. They rescue an amount of heretics. The heretics wish to try to join them. However, they cannot give up their faith. And so Schmidt is like, cool, you guys can fuck off and we'll see you on the field of battle one day. Schmidt and his homies, they are heading off to a point that has been designated by their unnamed leader, which is totally not Yolenta. I think it's Yolenta. Either Yolenta or Noak went rogue.
It could be both.
It could be both. And they end up at this abandoned village where we get a flashback as to why the village is abandoned. At least I think that's what that flashback was supposed to tell us.
Yeah, I think that...
It is never made explicitly clear.
It could be.
But in this flashback, we find the village elders are burning all of the crosses of the village, and a husband, a wife, and their young child are trying to flee the village. The husband's brother catches them and has this long-winded conversation about hey, you need to give up the orthodoxy of the church because it's causing class divisions, and why do the nobles get to be rich and full of money and wealth when in the Bible it literally says it's easier for a camel to be pushed through the head of a needle than it is for a rich man to be sent to heaven. And so the brother that is trying to run away with his wife and maintain their faith in Christianity says, no, I won't. I'm going to stay in my faith. I'm leaving. You can stay, but I'm leaving. And his brother slashes him across the chest and fucking kills him, and then goes to try to kill the man's son. But the wife stabs dude in the leg, and the kid runs off, and we go back to the modern day of the anime. Then we find out that the Black Plague is ravaging Europe, and that's why a lot of the towns are abandoned. Supposedly, but they make a comment about how the plague is ravaging everything. They're searching the town. Faye is continuing to read through this book to try to find any references to Otzi or Bedeni, and we find out that the church is there. They have a little stabby stabby stab of the dude in the neck. We find out that Anton, that was his name? We found out Anton's plan works. He becomes the bishop, and we're left on a cliffhanger where they're going to interrogate some old man with an eye scar.
The one member of the trio of the Liberation Front that we couldn't figure out his name, he was acting really suspicious, like he was working with the church. Because remember how he was being...
Oh yeah, Frosted Tips before Frosted Tips were cool.
Yeah, he was being very obvious about what was going on, and at one point, the other one's like, why are you being so loud? So his behavior...
I.e. Frosted Tips before Frosted Tips was cool.
Yeah, his behavior was very suspicious, and something tells me he's working with the church.
Maybe. He could
and that's probably why the church was there.
He could be a plant. As always, this anime just keeps subverting any expectation I ever had of any semblance of keeping track of the plot.
Oh no, I think the plot is
or not keeping track, but like being able to accurately guess what's going to happen next.
Yeah,
there is the plot, but
correct.
You're always like
the little subsections that we deal with.
The person who wrote this manga just keeps pulling the rug out from under you every time you fucking think you're on the right track. It's just like whoop.
I like that with each arc, the story keeps getting more and more interesting.
I also like that every time the main character focus shifts, the opening shifts to that character being the first one you see.
Yeah.
Because first it was Raffle.
Yeah.
Then he died. Then it was Otzi for the longest time.
Yep.
He dies. And now it's someone we haven't actually met yet.
No, not yet. It might be that boy.
It might be that boy.
That we saw in the flashback.
Yeah. Who knows? We only got into the first episode of this arc.
Which set up a lot of good groundwork, I feel.
Which I think this is endgame.
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to have at least one more arc after this.
Potentially.
I feel like we're going to have at least one more arc before the series is done.
Potentially. I think we're in the middle of the third omnibus at this point. So we have an omnibus and a half to play out the endgame.
So I think a good title for this episode is Envious Mustaches.
Yeah, Schmidt's mustache is fabulous.
It is fantastic. And he loves it. He loves...
yeah, you notice how he's always
pulling at it, trying to straighten out his angles. It's good. This was a good episode.
As always, fantastic.
I definitely enjoyed the shift in the narration.
I like watching the evolution, like, because of this time period and the leading into the Renaissance.
Yeah.
The evolution of, like, they're accurately keeping track of time. Like, oh, look, here's a thing from the East. Gunpowder.
Yeah, when he was asking the guards, hey, do you guys know what gunpowder is? And they're like, no. And they're like, oh, well, I hear that soldiers have been, murmuring about it, but I guess you guys didn't hear about it.
Here, it's pretty cool. Boom.
Yeah, and he's dropping all of this code phrasing where us, very familiar with explosives, would be like, oh, God. And the priest is just sitting there going, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And he goes like, well, you'll figure it out, and throws the torch, and the priest is like, what the? And then...
boom.
And carnage and destruction at the hands of Chinese information.
I love how that one guard that was still alive grabbed onto Schmidt's leg.
And he just kind of looked at him and he's like, yeah, good luck with that, bro.
He's just like, how cute. Just gently pulls his arm off.
I think you might be on the right course that Yolenta may be quote unquote the leader, but I'm almost positive that dude that they captured was Nowak.
Maybe.
No, this episode did really good to set up this next arc.
It's like a new story every time.
It is.
We switch to a new arc.
It keeps refreshing itself.
But then it also does the little subtle throwbacks. Like, you remember Otzi and Bedeni?
I loved the callback. Like, oh yeah, we're looking for these names. And the dude who's reading it, he's like, I don't understand why anybody wants to find this. I think what it was that was written on the heads of all the destitute people was...
You think that's that book?
It was Otzi's book.
Okay.
That was penned on the back of their heads because Bedeni had talked about how he was going to preserve what Bedeni wrote and not what he wrote.
Yeah. So I think it is Otzi's...
It is, yeah.
Shit on
the
back.
His journal that he put together.
The 60 people that he tattooed this book on the back of their heads. Because Bedeni's a dickhead.
Oh, that was so masterful.
Rest in peace, Bedeni. Rest in peace, Otzi. You guys were the real MVPs.
Well, now we got mustachioed Schmidt.
Yeah, now we have Schmidt-stachio. Also, the Crusader-esque helmets that they were wearing.
Yeah. What the one who was driving who was the driver.
Yeah, it was very...
It looked like it was wooden.
It was very Teutonic as well.
Yeah.
Minus the feathers. Because Teutonic helmets have the feathers on the sides.
I don't know if I never knew that.
It's bucket helmets with like massive feathered plumes.
Okay.
Anytime you stereotypically see a Teutonic knight, it's those. They'll have huge plume crests on their helmets. fucking, as always, fantastic. Love it. We'll continue to love it.
Oh yeah.
We'll be disappointed when it's over.
Oh yeah.
When I get money, I will purchase
the rest of the manga.
the rest of the manga.
Yeah.
Birthday presents for people that are listening that
There
care
you go.
about me.
All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Drop a comment.
Join our Discord.
yeah.
Go to our socials.
Harass us
interact with
online.
us. Just talk to us. If you're watching Orb, I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are about this episode and this time skip. I really liked it.
I love it. A lot of times time skips can be jarring in a story, but I think at this point we're kind of used to the story skipping around
I'll
in
say
the
at
timeline.
time skip number 2, let us know how you guys feel about the 2 time skips that this series has taken, and post it on our YouTube or come to our Discord, which is posted underneath the video or in the description if you're watching this on Spotify or any other streaming service. Check us out. Interact.
Don't forget our regular podcast series is now moved to Wednesdays. We are reviewing for this season Zenshu, Ubel, Blatt, and Sakamoto Days.
And keep an eye out soon for a new side quest where we talk about the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen with a very special guest.
Yeah, I relented and watched it.
We'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.